Ladies and gentlemen, this is the 12th and final round.
Right hand, Golovkin steps in and down he goes again. Unbelievable. Mayweather makes him pay. What a rookie mistake. A sensational left hook by De La Hoya.
It's facts. I'm the best. You know what I mean? Sometimes I don't want to believe it myself, but it's the truth. I'm the best. I'm going to show you how great I am.
From Southern California, this is the Last Round Podcast.
Welcome back to another edition of the Last Round Boxing Podcast. Thank you again for joining us. It's just me this week. Mike is on a hiatus this week, but he should be back possibly next week or in the next couple weeks, but he will return. In the meantime, I do have a guest to join me this week. It's a returning guest. He's been back. He's been on the show in the past a few times, and he's been a partner of the show for quite a while. He's an award-winning writer and International Boxing Hall of Fame voter who is also the founder and publisher of FightsATW.com and also the editor-in-chief in the combat sports coverage of the website. And he's a retired 25-year Marine Corps veteran who has covered combat sports for NYFights.com, The Ring Magazine, FanSided, ProBox TV. You've seen him everywhere, and you continue to see him everywhere. And he is also, for that matter, might as well add it, he's also a member of the Boxing Writers Association of America. So if anything in boxing, he's in it. He's a part of it. He's got his hands in it. Abraham Gonzalez returns to the last round. Thank you again for joining us, man.
Yo, thank you, Danny. I appreciate it, man. You guys always doing your thing and extending the invite. So I definitely appreciate you having me on again.
You got it, man. Welcome back. So, like we were talking about just before we started recording, you got a huge scoop. And when I say huge, I mean huge scoop. You've been putting in the work for quite a long time on the media side of sports, primarily boxing, obviously. And you got, I would say, and you correct me if I'm wrong, was probably so far in your career, in your writing career, in your reporting career, probably the biggest scoop of news up until this point, where you and your website were the first to report the new multi-year deal between DAZN and Golden Boy Promotions. So kind of give us a peek behind the curtain as much as you can, obviously without revealing too much and everything you got there, but just give us a peek behind the curtain and then also give us a breakdown of the deal. Obviously, the details have been out for a couple of weeks, but for the people who maybe haven't kept up with that boxing news, kind of provide a summary of the deal.
Yeah, man. So I was, fortunate enough to come across that information from a few sources that would know, right? And so, I don't want to drop Oscar's name, but I'm kidding. But yeah, I was given that information on that Friday, and I put it out, and I thought it was important because leading up to that, a lot of talk of Golden Boy's demise. Right now, this is days after Top Rank signed their deal, which I've been closely following, for months and months and months, and just trying to kind of pinpoint where they were going to land. And a lot of folks were surprised that deal was announced first. And so Top Rank gets their deal. And then it was like, well, what's up with Golden Boy, right? They still, dealing with the Virgil Ortiz stuff. They were on a show-to-show basis. They had just finished doing a show, like a one-off with DAZN again in Anaheim. So it was like, what is the situation with them? And so got that information, and I wasn't surprised, but it was good to hear that they got situated, not because I'm not paid by them or anything like that, but it's so that there's some clarity in the sport, right? Because when everybody has a situation, then there's no excuse to make fights, but when promoters don't have a deal or whatever, then it's like, oh well, they can't get a deal because X, Y, and Z. And it's like, all right, well, everybody's situated. Now what? Like, give us what, what we're wanting to see. So that came across, and then, we posted it. there's always the risk when doing stuff like that, right? Because that's a big story, and people at times will try to, for lack of a better word, shit on it, right? To kind of take a little bit off of it, and but the opposite happened. A lot of folks, listen. The like button is a funny thing on X. Because you can like something and nobody else needs to see it, right? Nobody will see it except for the person that owns the thing. So when I saw a lot of, let's just say, the folks that would normally do stuff like that to like it, then I knew that it was 100% legit.
I get it.
So, yeah. So that was a good feeling. That was a great feeling, actually. Like you said, it was the big break for me. And doesn't happen often. I'm a independent platform. The boxing world is ran by Boxing Scene and Ring. The two biggest platforms ran by people that have millions of dollars in their bank account, and it's just me, running FightsATW.com and. And I'm, trying to do my thing as best as I can with all the great contributors that have sent, stuff, material, articles, and all that to the website. So, we're not bragging or not. We just try to do the best that we can and give the people, some genuine content.
Absolutely. And, like you said, it's funny that you say that because Mike and I, with the podcast over here, have also noticed that over time on X where, certain people start liking certain personalities or, certain characters in the sport start liking these posts, especially since X made the likes private, right? So people are a little bit, okay, well, I can like it. And the only people who know are the account holders, unless they say something and we've talked about that. So exactly what you said, it does happen. It does exactly happen, and then you kind of read between the lines and you notice, okay, this person liked it. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. Oh, so did this person. So did this account. Oh, okay. So we're on to something here. So that's very, very true. And that, it's not even just in boxing. It's across, any type of topic, right? Across sports, across, any type of political accounts or whatever you have, news accounts. That's exactly what happens. So, but you didn't think, I don't want to say that you questioned yourself, but you said it like, okay, you posted it on a Friday. Well, I think was it the 20th?
I think it was, yeah.
The 20th, right? You posted it on a Friday, and then because you said that you started seeing these accounts start liking it, and then that's when you started to notice, okay, I think this is real. You're very professional and you know your stuff, so I don't think you would have published it if you didn't have confidence in what you're publishing. Yeah. But I think what you're saying is that it gave you that extra layer of confidence when you started seeing these types of accounts start interacting and liking the post. So am I wrong or correct me if I'm wrong?
Yeah, no. And it's like that because listen, unless you're getting it from the people that are signing the paperwork, not saying that I didn't, but it's hard to kind of and even then it's kind of hard to be really confident that that information, and you hear it from a couple of different people and you're like, okay. But there's always that that real small percentage that, it could be wrong. And so, you run that risk, but I was confident enough with the people that I spoke to that it was right. So I went with it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And, and when I asked you that question, because, we've seen it over time from reporters and, across different industries, they report something and it's not entirely accurate, not accurate at all. But the one that kind of popped into my head when I was asking you that question, I don't know if you remember, but, this isn't boxing related, but it's I don't. It's not even. I guess it's combat sports, but it's owned by TKO, the WWE. Right before they were sold to Endeavor, there was a report that the WWE was going to be sold to the Saudis, to the country of Saudi Arabia, and that the gentleman who reported that had some type of affiliation with DAZN, or worked for DAZN, or there was some type of relationship there. So it caught wind. It caught wind across the professional wrestling world, and then the boxing world, the MMA world, because it kind of all tied together. In a way, I guess he was incorrect, but looking at it now, just because of how the Saudis are kind of involved with TKO and Endeavor and the WWE, was he kind of right? Or did he kind of just jump the gun a little bit?
I think that he was right, but the problem is that, especially with WWE, they are really particular with how they roll things out. They want certain things to happen in a certain way. And if it doesn't happen that way, they're powerful enough to shut it down, whatever that looks like, right? Whether that's, shitting on the credibility, or, putting out a statement, or whatever the case may be. But, they're going to make sure that it gets rolled out the way they intended it to roll out, and nobody's going to get in the middle of that.
Right. No,
that's just the way it is. When you're making, billions, that I guess you could do that.
How many times would you say, and you mentioned it a couple minutes ago, that, obviously being in the sport as a reporter, writer, a journalist and all that on the media side, how many times would you say that you've gotten information that wasn't public yet, and wasn't reported, but you didn't report it because you just had, you didn't have a confident feeling in it, or you just kind of passed on it? How many times would you say that's happened in your career so far?
Oh, a lot. There was a lot of times where I had found some things out, and I guess because of the legal sensitivity of it, or what it appeared to be from the outside was there, like, I kind of just held back from doing it. But yeah, there was plenty of times, fights, events, whatever, and somebody would tell me, and it'd be somebody really, really credible, and I'm like, oh, really? And then I would be hesitant, and then somebody like Dan or Chris or Mike would put it out like an hour later or whatever, and I'm like, damn.
Yeah, you're like, man, I should have put it out.
But see, this is the thing though. It's hard being in the position that I'm in as an independent, because like those guys, they have a built up audience already. There's not really much you can do to them that's going to affect them, right? Because they already have this huge platform. So what are you going to do to them? Not give them access and not do this and that? Like, you're not going to do that, right? So you could be mad at them all you want, but at the end of the day, when they see you, you're going to smile at them, right? And so, but somebody in my position where, I'm kind of scratching and crawling every day, you have to kind of pick and choose your battles, I guess, is the best way to say it, and figure out what's worth putting it all on the table for and what isn't.
So kind of give us a little details about the actual deal, for our listeners who aren't fully aware of the intricacies of the actual deal. It's a multi-year deal. What else am I missing?
Yeah, so the press release said that it was exclusive, but I don't. There's different ways to say that, right? Different ways of saying the word exclusive. I think that like the way, yes, they are exclusive to DAZN in a way where they're going to be doing, their things there. But, them having DAZN be an additional outlet for Benavidez versus Zurdo, that is, because that's a Golden Boy, mostly. I think Golden Boy is running that promotion, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe PBC is, but I can't remember. But Golden Boy is heavily involved. And so having them a part of that, it kind of shows you that, yeah, it's exclusive, but DAZN there's opportunities for DAZN to be involved in other stuff with Golden Boy that involves other promotions, I guess is kind of like the best way to say it. So more of that is likely to happen when it makes sense. So
isn't that kind of always what it is though? Like you said, like they reported it as exclusive, but we've seen in boxing going back decades where if the two fighters are both big enough personalities and enough money makers, and they're with different promoters, and they just can't make a deal on one platform or another. Case in point, Mayweather, Pacquiao. I'm sure they both had some type of exclusive deals with Showtime, HBO, Top Rank, PBC, and all that. I'm sure they did because they were at the height of their powers at that time. Mm-hmm. But the money made sense for both sides. They're like, hey, this is worth it for us to combine because this event is so massive. I mean, when we say exclusive, I mean, yeah, it could be exclusive, but there's obviously wiggle room, right?
Yeah, and not only that, but listen, DAZN is in the position where, they have to come off that stance that they were originally, which was, it's DAZN or nothing, right? Because guess what? They put their foot out front and said, oh, we're going to give you 12 pay-per-views a year. Well, guess what, buddy? Like, you got to provide 12 pay-per-views with companies that may not be able to give you 12 pay-per-views. So then what? Then you got to be able to do these collaborations that make sense, that will get a pay-per-view on the platform for that month to justify it. Now, this is a smart move, right? Because like, all right, so if I'm a DAZN Ultimate subscriber, shit, I'm getting Benavidez versus Zurdo. I'm not paying pay-per-view on DirecTV or anything else. I'm getting it on DAZN already.
Right.
So it's giving the consumer more bang for your buck. And if you're DAZN, that's what you want because you've taken so much heat for not doing that. So making these collaborations makes sense. And I think that you'll see more of that, in the future. Because guess what? The only one that isn't on DAZN is PBC. It's the only one.
Do we know any? Because we know obviously that PBC has the relationship with Amazon Prime Video that they've had for the last couple of years. Do we know anything in terms of that deal? When the conclusion of that deal might be upcoming or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't like if I'm Prime. Like, I think from Prime's perspective, like they're cool with continuing with what they've got going on right now because it's not requiring like a budget busting thing to afford that, right? So yeah, they'll do that all day. They'll probably say continue doing that. As long as they get whatever it is that they get in return and whatever's worked out. Will PBC ever be on DAZN? I don't know. I don't know if Al Heyman would ever do that. I think he's always kind of ride solo, and that's cool. You know what I mean? Like he's always done his own thing and he's been successful at it for all these years. So why stop doing that? Now, there's rumors that he's sick and stuff like that. So, how it does, if that changes things, maybe, I don't know. But I think that they'll continue to do business as usual, but they don't have a lot of big names there that can draw the pay-per-views that are still in their primes. They got a lot of big names that are a lot older now that probably don't have a lot of years left. So, I just saw Caleb Plant sign the deal with like all the smoke guys, all the fight or whatever, and he's doing podcasting stuff now. Is he ever going to fight again? I don't know. The Charlos, Jamal is not fighting Resendiz, and Jamel is looking for a fight. And, I think that some of those guys, I know I'm going down a rabbit hole here, but like with Jamel, he made posts like, called all these people out, my phone ain't ringing. But see, are you the demand anymore? You've been out of the game for a little bit. This is a what have you done for me lately type of, environment. Now, granted, he never lost the titles. So technically he's the lineal champ, right?
Right. You
got to beat the man if you want to say that you're the man. And I think that he's banking on that. But if I'm everybody else, what is the incentive for me to fight Jamel Charlo other than that? There's nothing else, really. It's more risk than reward. If it's more risk, you don't know what's in that tank still. He's been out of the ring, 2 years? Maybe longer?
Feels like longer, yeah.
The Canelo fight was 2023, right?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, so 2.5 years out of the ring. Like, I don't know. It's an interesting thing. I still want to see him fight, right?
Right.
But I don't know if people are gonna be fighting over picking up the phone and calling him for a fight.
Right.
It's probably need to be the other way around. And if he does that financial demand is not gonna be there either. He's not gonna get the $5, $6, $7, $8, $9 million that he might have gotten for Canelo, or maybe more, probably more.
Right.
Now it might be 2 or 3. And is he going to be okay with that?
Right. Right. But like you said, he has to work his way back up into the contention.
Yeah, but see, he can't afford to do that, though. I don't think time is on his side. So
no, it's not. But like, what other option does he have if they box him out?
Yeah. The only thing that would save him is if they gave him the Fundora fight.
Which I could see that, because especially after Fundora just beating Thurman, stopping Thurman recently, they asked Fundora and his promoter Samson in the post fight, about, I think they brought up Virgil Ortiz's name and other fighters outside of the PBC stable, and Samson did say, hey, we're loyal to PBC. Like, PBCs are, Charlo's a Heyman guy,
Yo, Fundora could be the next Randy Orton, legend killer, just destroying legends one at a time that were big time, some years ago. So I don't know. It'd be interesting. But I put something out on the website a few days ago and I said, if the WBC talks about how they stand on business and everything else, then they should be ordering Virgil versus Fundora. Virgil is the interim champ. Fundora made his voluntary defense against Thurman. That should be the mandatory fight that's ordered and next. Period. Virgil's not fighting Boots. He doesn't have there's not another big fight for him unless they do the Jamel Charlo fight, an all Texas showdown. I could see that. I don't know if Jamel would want that. I think it's Fundora versus Ortiz. That's got to be next, right? Like, it makes all the sense in the world.
You would hope, right? But I think you and I both know, and obviously if Mike was here, he'd be just as well. But boxing has let us down more than once.
I know. Now Fundora, before the fight, he did say that he wouldn't mind facing Virgil on the Canelo pay-per-view in September. the Mexico versus the world thing, which would be awesome.
like if it has to happen overseas, and that's the only way it can happen, throw it at us. Obviously, we'd prefer if it happened over here in the United States, preferably on the West Coast, which is our coast over here. Because I don't think Fundora is the type of guy. Like, I think he's down to fight anybody.
Yeah,
but he's also, I mean, didn't he go, or isn't he going to, what is it, Stanford or what? You know,
Harvard.
Harvard, yeah. Like, he's a smart guy. Like, he can fight, and he's an intelligent guy. So. I think he's just a very respectful guy, and lets the business be the business. But I think he's down to fight Ortiz. But I think, like you said, Ortiz isn't going to fight Boots. And I mean, depending on what this whole situation with Golden Boy and that whole litigation happens, or if it continues, but
that'll get fixed soon. I'm sure it will.
I mean, you would hope, right? I mean, I had talked to Eric Gomez in Hollywood during the kickoff press conference for Ryan Garcia and Mario Barrios a couple months back, I was interviewing him about just different things about the Ryan fight and some other stuff, and then I asked him some information about the Ortiz stuff. And I told him, I was like, I know you can't get into a lot of the intricate details, but, do you think it's going to work out? Like, what's your confidence level? And he said, it will. And like, and he sounded genuine. And even after, like, I turned off the recording, he seemed genuine. He's like, I think it'll work out. He's like, everything will be fine. So
it's business at the end of the day, bro. Like, it's a business. I mean, not everybody that does business with each other likes each other. That's just the reality of the situation. So if business can be done and it can be fair for all parties, it'll be done. Period. And I think it'll happen.
Kind of touching on that, actually, in regards to the DAZN and Golden Boy partnership, the new multi-year partnership. They this past December of 2025, there was reports, obviously, that were confirmed later, I think through the litigation with Ortiz, that Golden Boy and DAZN didn't have an active deal. They were going fight by fight. So what was your reaction when you heard that? But then also when Ortiz and his team then filed litigation against Golden Boy, did you think, okay, this is going to probably just prolong any type of deal that they make with DAZN, because DAZN is going to be like, okay, well, you're losing one of your primary stars, which if we're going to enter into another partnership with you, like, and you don't have him and he goes to Top Rank or he goes to Matchroom, we might want to allocate that money to them if you lose him. Yeah. I mean, what was your reaction when you heard the reports that the deal was, they had no active deal because it was expired as of December, and then Ortiz's team filed the lawsuit? What was your reaction?
Yeah, I think that the information about like the lawsuit and not having a deal, I think that was all like things that happened after everybody internally knew that was happening already. So like these guys already knew that, DAZN already had that conversation with Oscar, that, all these folks had these conversations way before those reports came out. So that was, and it's funny that, the deal was done after the judge, put it to an arbitrator, right? And so it had some sort of clarity and path. Excuse me. Then all of a sudden the deal gets done. So I think, yes, the whole situation with Virgil and Golden Boy did hold up, them getting that deal, that extension across the line. But I felt like DAZN was always going to do it. It was just that they finally, use their position of power to try to push for something that they felt like everybody wanted to see, which was Virgil versus Boots. So But good on them because, that hasn't happened in a while. And it wasn't happening with them internally for a while. So it was almost like they were kind of like getting pushed over, and just being told what to do instead of it being the other way around, them being the platform, the ones signing the checks. Like, nah. We need this one now. And so, and then the rest is happen. And now, there's some folks, Ortiz's manager, try to reach out to Oscar publicly and say, let's talk and, all this other stuff. So at the end of the day, we just want to see Virgil Ortiz back in the ring. Plain and simple. Let's get him back in the ring as soon as possible. The more time that goes by, the worse is for him because then he will likely have to take a tune-up before he goes into another fight. And then that delays another major fight, right? So let's just get him in the ring, man.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And in regard, staying on the litigation between Ortiz and Golden Boy, what was your reaction when Ortiz and his team included like a type of declaration from Ed McCarthy, who the DAZN executive, pretty much supporting their position, saying, "Hey, what even if they don't sign him, it's not going to affect our any potential deal that we sign with Golden Boy." I thought that was when I think a lot of people were surprised that Ortiz's team got that. Were you surprised? What was your reaction?
Yeah, listen, when it comes to these things, you really see what people are made of and what they're capable of, because the gloves will be off and you'll start you're surprised at some of the things that you start seeing, but then you tell yourself that you shouldn't be surprised, because when people are pinned to a corner, they'll start doing whatever they need to do to get out of that corner. And I think both sides felt like that. And so yeah, I was shocked initially. And then I was like, well, makes sense, because these guys are one is trying to get the upper hand on the other.
Do you think that, that DAZN also, or because I think he's a chief operating officer, Ed McCarthy, I'm sure when Ortiz's team approached him and kind of laid out the whole situation there, you think it was also, because, I think that we were talking about reading between the lines earlier in the episode, but I think that it's kind of easy to see that DAZN and Matchroom and Eddie Hearn are a little bit more closer in their relationship and their dynamic than they are with Golden Boy. And do you think that there was a chance that DAZN, their COO, Ed McCarthy, possibly decided to, get involved in this officially, in this litigation like that, in support of Ortiz and his team's position? Because it's like, okay, well, we want this to get resolved as soon as possible. And maybe they looked at it like, well, Ortiz, we'll just put him with Matchroom, and Eddie Hearn will sign him. Well, we'll still keep him. He'll still fight on our network, but he's just going to be with our other promoter.
Yeah, I think that if they had to look back and do that all over again, maybe he doesn't do that. Maybe he doesn't make that statement. But at the end of the day, did it really matter? Because the deal still got done. Right. Golden Boy is still with DAZN for multiple years. So at the end of the day, the shit got done anyway.
Right. Do you think that, just putting your business hat on here, because we're talking about business, it's just like, sometimes it's just business. Do you think that it was a wise move for Ortiz and his team, primarily his manager, to go through the litigation channels like this and go through that? Or, do you think that, because, we've seen this, the litigation, it's listed in there. So it's not like we're speculating, but it was saying that the contract details for Ortiz and certain fights were like, okay, he wins and he gets like a minimum purse of like $3 million or something, and or something like that. And I think there was other information that said that he wanted, I think, 6 or 7 for the Boots fight. I mean, do you think that I maybe I'm just an optimist and boxing does let us down, but I felt like, well, this has happened for decades in the history of boxing, where there's negotiations between the promoter and the broadcaster and the fighters. I felt like there would have, if the litigation was never filed, there would have been a middle ground. I mean, do you think they pulled the trigger too fast, Ortiz's team?
Listen, I think that when you are dealing with a lot of egos, and that's everybody, a lot of egos, and a fighter that is getting to the point where he is on the cusp of like really being a star. Sometimes those whispers in your ear turn really loud, and you start, like really going with that. Obviously, his manager's job is to look out for his best interests. He should also try to get the best possible deal for his client. That's what a good manager does. But sometimes you just got to pick your spots. Now, what you're really asking is, was this the spot to pick, right? To pick this battle? Like, it might have. It might have been. I just wonder if it was out of necessity, because when they were originally supposed to fight, Turkey was involved. Now, this time around, Turkey seemed like he wasn't part of that discussion. So then it's like, all right, well, if I'm not going to get the Turkey payday, which is much more than what just, the regular payday on a promotion, then I'm going to try to maximize it to the most. And I think that that's what his manager was trying to do. And, maybe some of the stuff on social and stuff were a little too much. But he felt, he's a passionate guy that expresses his passion sometimes a little too much, but you can't knock him for that. I mean, if he's gotten his clients paid and taken care of, then he's done his job. So I would say that I'm just not sure if this was the one to pick the battle for.
Right. And I was surprised. Mike and I were surprised, from it coming from somebody like Ortiz, who's always been a pretty calm, quiet guy. He kind of just lets his fist do the talking, and then he just plays his guitar on his spare time. But like you said, like it happens, people whisper in your ear, and, you trust these people because they've been around you for so long. And, they obviously convinced him like, hey, this is the route we need to go. And I feel he has been a lot more vocal online, on social media the last couple months, recently, I think even with
today.
Yeah, I think it was today, right? I think he posted a screenshot of an email. I think that was posted before.
Yeah.
He posted that in response to, I forgot who he was responding
Xander.
to. Yeah, it was Xander. Yeah. Because they were trying to negotiate that fight last year.
Yeah.
For December, and then there was an Eric Gomez and stuff like that. So yeah, Ortiz is kind of making that turn, where it's just like, okay, kind of getting a little bit more personality, but is it going to work out for you? Because I think he's proven that he's a great fighter. I think he has proven that, right?
Yeah, and I think that he was, the Boots fight would have been the fight for both of them, right? That would have taken them to the next level, as far as status in the sport. But now he doesn't have that, now it's, and there's gonna be a lot of folks that may feel like kicking themselves in the butt if Xander ends up beating Boots, right? Because that fight no longer has value, at that point, Nobody. The whole intrigue is now, right? Virgil winning last time, dominant fashion. Boots winning last time, dominant fashion. Like, let's do it now. But now Boots is going against Xander for 2 titles. Like, I want to see that.
That was big.
That
was big when that was just announced. Xander taking that risk like that. It's just like, wow.
But I'm gonna tell you though, like, if you're following me on X at AbeG718, weeks before that was announced, I had put it out there. Was like, yo, Xander Boots, New York, June. Like, I was initially saying Puerto Rican Day Parade weekend, but the Garden and the Barclays Center are booked for those weekends, and then the Garden is booked for the 27th, so they had to do the Barclays Center.
Do you think that? Because we talked about the Golden Boy DAZN announcement of their deal, but obviously Top Rank subsequently, I believe, also announced a deal with DAZN recently. So, you know, Top Rank, Golden Boy, Matchroom, all under that umbrella with DAZN. Do you think, and obviously, you know, we just be speculating here, but do you think that DAZN in their finalization of their deal with Top Rank maybe said, hey, you know, everything looks good, but we want you to negotiate for Xander and Boots, because it doesn't seem like we're going to get Ortiz Boots. So let's try Xander and Boots.
Yeah, I don't know if it was so much that. I think it was more Xander seizing the opportunity the minute that he saw that Boots was officially, like, quote unquote, off the fight, you know, that he said he was moving on in a different direction. That from people that I was told, it was Xander and his team that was like, yo, get us the Boots fight. And, you know, and once both sides seemed like they wanted it, then it got done. Now, Eddie Hearn, man, that guy, I tell you, man, he a sly fox, boy, because, you know, he could have easily done Eric Kelly or Josh Kelly versus Boots. I was going to say Eric, right? Kelly. Nah, Josh Kelly. Yeah, nah. Shout out to Eric Kelly for DX. Josh Kelly versus Boots Ennis. But Eddie is banking on Boots beating Xander, and then you make Josh Kelly Boots for 3 belts.
Yeah.
In the UK.
Yes.
And you do that in O2 Arena or wherever, and that's going to pop out there.
Yeah.
And so I think he's banking on that.
I'd probably be in agreement with him, because I think from a boxing fan perspective and, you know, a boxing media personality like us, like, I think Boots is the favorite against Xander. Like Xander, I think he'll put up a fight. I think, you know, you got to give him the credit for having the confidence to just be like, all right, I'll take your fight. I'll fight you. But I think Boots is the favorite. And I think Eddie Hearn like you said, he probably has that pathway that he's looking for that to happen. And I think it's likely that could happen.
And if you want to, like, paint the picture for the fans, you make Josh Kelly the co-main.
Yeah. Yeah. Which would, you know, they haven't announced, right? They haven't announced any fights.
No, they
yet,
haven't. Right? They haven't. One fight that, you know, and I had tweeted this earlier that, you know, is brewing in the background is Ray Ford versus O'Shaquie Foster.
That's a fun fight.
Yeah. And so, you know, does that one land on the Xander card? Ray Ford is from Jersey, right? And so, you know, you got that tri-state area love that, you know, make the trip up. You know, I know O'Shaquie Foster's from Texas, and, you know, he didn't really like the way judges handled him last time he was in New York and stuff. So I don't know if that happens, but yeah, that would be a great fight to put on there. Matchroom is running the promotion for this one. So if you're going to do it, why not? Right.
Right. So let me ask you this. Xander slides in essentially for Ortiz and tells Boots, I'll take you on. You know, you're not going to fight this guy, obviously, but I'll step in. I got this. We talked about, you mentioned earlier about we would love to see Ortiz and Fundora. Like, hey, well, they're the next two. Like, you know, let them fight later this summer. But obviously there's promotional politics there, which pretty much are the only outstanding ones with PBC because everybody else is pretty much under DAZN.
Yeah. But I don't know. I don't know with Zurdo fighting Benavidez. Maybe that's the beginning of things not being that way. Also,
well, hopefully.
Also, De La Hoya said that he has spoken to Al Heyman, and there's going to be a lot more of that.
Right. I mean, hopefully, but like you said, like Fundora is kind of like one of the cash cows for Heyman, one of the last cash cows, like consistent younger fighters. And Benavidez is obviously the ace side with Zurdo. And it's not like the cruiserweight division has a lot of options.
Yeah.
So so that one makes sense to me. Like I can see why that happened. But the Fundora one, I could. That one's going to be a little bit more difficult for me to see come to fruition. I would hope so, but if it's not Fundora, now that Xander and Boots is officially announced, and Ortiz fights in the next 4 to 5, 6 months or what have you, who does he fight?
If it has to be another Golden Boy guy, I think he fights Charles Conwell.
What if it's not another Golden Boy guy? I mean, obviously, it seems like it would be a Golden Boy fighter because it's the easiest to make. Golden Boy can just keep it all in house. I mean, it happens all the time. I think Conwell would still be. I mean, obviously, we want to see Ortiz against these other guys, but I like Conwell. Conwell's been on the podcast here, I think, twice with us. He's a great guy.
That'd be a fun fight.
Yeah, that'd be a fun fight, right? But if it's not Conwell, anybody from Matchroom, Top Rank?
I'm trying to think. Honestly, man, the only thing that would make financial sense if it's not Fundora would be Jamel Charlo, bro. Mm-hmm. Jamel Charlo, and you do that in Houston or in Dallas, either one, and it'll be crazy out there. All Texas, because Texas supports Texas.
Oh, yeah.
Trust and believe.
Yeah.
So if it's an all Texas showdown, shit, no matter where they put that at in Texas, it's going to be crazy.
Right. Yeah, because, I mean, do you think, staying on the Ortiz topic, do you think that because, we were talking about, or Mike and I were talking about, I think in our last episode, or at least the last couple of weeks, but I know we've been talking about it offline, but we talked about Mikey Garcia years ago when he was in his litigation with Top Rank, and he didn't fight that entire time because that litigation was ongoing. So
Andre Ward.
Yeah, Andre Ward, Mikey Garcia, they did not fight. And those were prime years. They still made some good money and they had some success. They figured, they figured something out. But they lost very significant prime years because of that. Do we see that with Ortiz and Golden Boy or no?
I hope not. I mean, Ortiz was on the promotional video that was shown, signing with DAZN again. I hope not. Cross your fingers. I just hope that this thing gets... Look, it has to go in front of an arbitrator by September. That's what the judge said. So no later than September, it has to happen. So where it goes from there, I don't know. But we'll see. I mean, they could always settle outside of court, and figure that out. But, or have a moment where they all sit at the table and be like, listen, man, everybody threw darts at each other. That's done with. That's the past. How do we move forward? Period. Right. And I think that, honestly, because Virgil is going to have a hard time getting over, Oscar taking shots at his dad. That's going to be a hard thing to get over, right? I think that if this gets done, it's got to be a conversation between Oscar and Virgil. Me and you, nobody else, let's sit down and have a discussion about just the whole situation and life. And then from there, once they can get to a certain place based on that conversation, then it's, okay, open the doors, let everybody else in.
Right. Yeah. No, I agree. I think it just, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that it was Virgil Ortiz's manager, Rick, who was kind of the first one to kind of shoot off publicly. I think it was him, right? I don't think because De La Hoya shoots off against people. He's ever since he started his clapback Thursdays and stuff. We understand. I get that's what you get. But for this situation, I believe it was Ortiz's team it was his manager who shot out first, wasn't it?
Yeah, I'm not too sure who did what. I think at the end of the day, that doesn't matter because all is fair in love and war, right? Like,
no, right. I just feel like it just that just pissed off everybody at every different angle on both sides. Yeah. And it's like then they started posting people's private conversation,
that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
emails, and I'm like, oh, this is getting nasty.
Yeah. I just think that listen, if Virgil are listening out there, you guys, you two specifically, sit down and have a conversation. That means Oscar, jump on that jet, go to Dallas, go where Virgil is comfortable at, and have that conversation. And then once you guys are at a certain place, hopefully, then you bring everybody else in, and then you guys can work out the details. But I think that conversation needs to happen, not over the phone, not over the Zoom. Just needs to be a good old one-on-one conversation, and then have it all out, put it all out there.
You mentioned that the arbitration, the judge in that matter said that the arbitration has to happen by September of this year. Do you think Golden Boy feels any pressure to try to get it done in advance of that month? Because
hold on, Daddy, for a quick second.
Yeah. No problem. So I'll keep talking about it. But we talked about it being in advance of September between Ortiz and DAZN for their arbitration.
Sorry about that.
No, it's okay. I'm still talking to the listeners, just talking about the Ortiz and arbitration. I can feel the air. It's cool. But the arbitration has to happen by September, according to the judge. Do you think Golden Boy feels any pressure to get it done as quick as they can because they just signed their new DAZN deal and they're trying to we want to make DAZN happy as well, and the faster we can get this done, it's one less thing that they have to worry about too.
Now, listen, removing the human perspective out of this, right? The human thought. As a promoter, I wouldn't be in a hurry.
Why not?
Because it's you that you're sitting on the shelf. I got all these other guys cooking. If you want to sit on the shelf and really, just continue to do what you're doing, then oh well, right? I've got a business to run. Nothing is going to stop the business from continuing. Now, if I'm Virgil, I got to get this thing resolved whichever way it goes sooner than later, because I got to get back in the ring and make money because there's lawyer fees costing up, and has Virgil really made the big money? Probably not. So, bills pile up, lawyer fees pile up. A good one anyway, and the one they're using is the one that Canelo used. So
yeah,
piling up.
When I saw that name, I was like, oh, okay, he's serious about this.
Piling up. So, but I think that Oscar is still, he still has that human emotion into it. And he doesn't want to do that to Virgil. Deep down inside, he doesn't want to do that to Virgil. But if you want to be the business shark, you be you don't want to resolve it? Cool. I'm going to focus over here with all these other guys that I'm trying to build up. You're one person. I've got a roster of 200 or whatever the case may be.
Do you think Ortiz is the second biggest fighter, in terms of overall popularity and all that, behind Ryan in the Golden Boy stable?
Yeah, I would say so. but that doesn't mean that that's going to always be that way.
Right.
You know, you can start, pumping more into Gabriela Fundora, who's getting really popular.
Yeah.
You can, pump in some more into like the Rocket, the heavyweight, like he's, coming up fast, and there's other guys in there.
If Zurdo pulls it off,
there you go. That's
never know.
I'm saying. Like, you never know. Like, Zurdo beats Benavidez, now all of a sudden
he rises. Yeah.
Quick.
Yeah.
And listen, don't get it twisted. Zurdo is a super popular guy, especially in Southern California.
Oh yeah.
People love them some Zurdo Ramirez.
Yeah.
Trust me. Dude looks like one of those telenovela actors from the 80s, but he's doing it. Like, people love that guy. So like it's not gonna take, all it's gonna take is probably this fight. And if he beats Benavidez, he's out of here.
Yeah. This is his moment, man.
Yeah.
This is his moment.
Yeah. And listen, speaking of deals, like don't sleep. I don't think Top Rank is necessarily done. Like, I think that there's another deal in there that's about to happen. Whether it's on like a smaller scale, or like for their mid-level cards, to get more. Because listen, when on the DAZN is going to get crowded real quick. People are going to be fighting for Saturday nights. Then you got Friday nights, maybe not so popular. But then, the DAZN fills them in with smaller shows like Eye of the Tiger or, whoever. And so Salida Promotions. So it's going to quickly get full. You got to find another outlet to put on the Navarrete shows that, are only going to do maybe like, 700,000 views or something like that. You know what I mean? So I wouldn't be surprised if they land somewhere I'm still thinking that they land somewhere in the Warner Brother Direct Discovery family area.
Okay.
But that's gonna be tricky. It's dicey because with Paramount owning them, how's that gonna be with Zuffa, and are they gonna feel a certain type of way about that? Do they expect to be the only show in town on those platforms? Can Paramount afford for that to be the case?
Right.
A lot of questions to be answered on that. If I'm Paramount, I'm like, nah, man. Like, if I can get Top Rank, to do, a show a month on TNT or on TBS, like, I'll take that. Live content, fights, yeah, I'll take that.
I think, you mentioned, Paramount now owning, or finalizing at least the whole, or I think they already finalized, or it's getting through the regulatory situation, but Warner Brothers Discovery, and which has like HBO and all that stuff, and obviously Paramount has the Zuffa deal. They have the deal with TKO and all that stuff, UFC and stuff like that. Like you mentioned, would they let Bach with Top Rank or somebody kind of slide in there? The reason that I don't think they would let that happen is because I remember I think I don't know if it was Bellator or UFC, but it was years ago. If it was UFC, it was before they had success, but they weren't the conglomerate that they are. And I think Dana White had said, I got to find the interview, but I think he had said in the interview that they were going to be on Spike TV at one point, and that this was when the WWE had a deal with Spike TV years ago. And I believe Dana White had said that Vince McMahon, the owner of the WWE at the time, had in the agreement between the WWE and Spike TV that he can block essentially whether it's like MMA, boxing, or other professional, pretty much anything that he feels is like, hey, this is too close to my brand. I don't want this on the same network. I gotta find the interview. I'll send it to you. But I think Dana White had said, like, yeah, he blocked us. Like, we didn't get that deal done.
Oh, yeah.
It was something like that. I don't know if it was Bellator or UFC, but I'm pretty sure it was UFC years ago, before they had any leverage and any pull.
But that was also around the time where Shane McMahon was trying to buy the UFC.
Yes, I remember that. Yeah. But I do think that with UFC, Dana White, TKO, I do feel, and especially that since they own WWE, Endeavor owns WWE, I do feel that in their contract or their agreement with Paramount, they probably have that in their contract saying, hey, you guys can't add any of these other industries unless we approve it, because like they're a threat to our brand.
But this is the thing. Those deals were done prior to the purchase. So, and Paramount wouldn't necessarily be putting Top Rank on Paramount. They would be on Warner Brothers Discovery.
No, right. And I understand that. But I mean, so I wonder so if like language is like all encompassing. You know what I mean?
I mean, I don't know. I don't think so, because it was prior to the merger. So, they can't possibly have language foreshadowing a merger in there.
I mean, you're right. I mean, it doesn't seem possible, but I just feel like these guys are, these TKO guys, like the Ari Emanuels and stuff like that, like these guys are like Hollywood, like they're muscle, of Hollywood.
Yeah.
I would feel like they know, like, okay, we know this happens, like we know we can be in with this agreement for 3 years, and then like, oh, hey, we're gonna get bought by this other company. Like, you can kind of know what's coming in the future, even if you don't know what's coming. Being in that industry. So maybe there might be like disclaimers in there, is what I'm saying. But I mean, we don't know.
Yeah, we don't know, and I probably wouldn't be surprised. But I just think that, if it was signing to Paramount, yeah, I can see that. But this umbrella just got really big.
Yeah.
And excuse me, you talking about something that is thousands of miles away from you.
Yeah.
And being bothered by that, I don't think that they would be bothered by that, especially if it's not going to be available on Paramount. It's probably just going to be available on the Warner Brothers and whatever on-demand catalog is. So, was TNT, TBS, or whatever, you know what I mean? Or doing it on the Discovery Channel or some shit. Like,
right.
There's opportunities there. And, people still want live content, man. People still want live content. Now that Netflix is out of the Warner Brothers deal, does Netflix maybe now say, hey, listen, Top Rank, I'll take a few fights, every 6 months.
Yeah.
If you give me some good stuff, like, I'll take it, if it makes sense for all parties. So, I think that there would be opportunities there. But I told people at the time too, like with this whole Top Rank thing, I know it took long. I told folks, I said, listen, Bob is an old school guy. He's not rushing for nobody.
He's not.
Right?
Yeah.
And I put this in my story. He's going to do it when he's good and ready.
Yeah.
Plain and simple. And he's going to do it on his own time. He ain't doing it on nobody else's time. So when everybody was saying, oh, it's been there. Yeah, Bob was chilling. He was getting knee surgery on, and doing that. So he wasn't worried about nothing other shit. So
no, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
Those, he hasn't been in the business as long as his, 60 years.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. He's seen everything, man.
He's seen it all.
Yeah.
Done it all. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we kind of finish up here, I know we just hit like an hour, so I don't want to take up too much of your time. Obviously, we're grateful that you gave us your time here on the last round again, Abe. But you were earlier this week, I believe you were on, or last week. Yeah, I think it was this week. You were on a very unique, I guess, covering a very unique event. Because being in this side of the sport, we've been to gyms, we've been to, rings set up outside somewhere in the middle of, next to a mall or like a building. We've been everywhere to go see fights and media workouts and just in general and all that stuff. But you were invited to a media workout on a yacht in Southern California.
That's a fact. That's a fact.
So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So prospects Johnny Mansour and Julius Juju Ballo. Ballo is signed to Top Rank. Mansour is not signed yet, although he had his pro debut in a Top Rank card. But they're San Diego guys, and they're building something with their fan base. It's crazy because they're cousins. So they had like a big following coming out of the amateurs, and one of their coaches or trainers was the girl from the Creed movies that was holding the pads, and she got real popular, doing that. And it's just like this whole thing started coming out. Little by little, like even like in Johnny's pro debut, he had a bunch of people because I was there, and it seemed like he had a whole section of the arena just cheering for him. And I was like, oh, this is impressive. And then they did a show in LA in December under the Badu Jack card. And, again, a lot of people came up for him and Julia. So they decided that they wanted to do a show on their own. So in Oceanside, where I live at the Front Wave Arena, they're going to have a show called SD Fight Night Family Business. So they're doing their own show as promoters of the event. So as they're doing that and getting the word out there, they decided to have a media day on the yacht. There's a yacht that is docked in San Diego that's called the Hornblower, and it does daily like routes where they have like dinners and brunch and stuff like that, and you could get a ticket, do an hour cruise or whatever, and then come back. So they did it on that. A lot of people came out. They were saying like close to 500 people were there.
Man,
a lot of people in there on that yacht. So it also tells you how big the boat was, right? But it was dope. It was dope, even though it wasn't sunny. Had overcast, but just the views and the fighters, the undercard fighters doing their thing, pad work and all that on the boat. It was really dope. The scenery was dope. KUSI San Diego News was on the boat as well, and they did a live 6:00 primetime news check-in for that.
Wow!
So huge. That's huge for those guys. Mind you, Julius Ballo only had 2 fights. Johnny Mansour only has 6 fights. And these guys are on primetime television, on the 6:00 news. Like, that's impressive.
In a big market, too. San Diego's got a lot of people.
A lot of people, right? Ballo has Julie Goldsticker as his PR person. She's the one that does Terrence Crawford and Shakur Stevenson. And so, yeah, and it was a dope look. It was dope. The people that were there seemed like they had a really good time. And everybody, did the pad works, did the shadow boxing, and spoke to those guys afterwards. But overall, it was a really nice experience. I don't think any fighter has ever done that. So for them 2 young guys to do it and kind of think outside the box and be creative and bring excitement into their event, man, that was the perfect thing.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because, for our listeners, like we were trying to get you on earlier this week, but obviously your schedule was a little tight. And then you had told us like, oh, I'm actually covering this event on a yacht. And we were like, what the hell? So I was like, yeah, I get it, man. That sounds like a pretty good excuse to us. So, I don't know. Cause I think when you told me that, I was like, I don't think I've never heard of an event, a boxing event like that occurring on a yacht like that. I mean, I'm sure there's been something maybe on a boat or something, but like nothing that comes to mind. So
yeah.
I'm sure that was an experience that you'll never forget.
Yeah, no, that was dope. That was real dope. And then it's funny because my wife called me later and she was like, "Oh yeah, your son was watching you on the news."
That's crazy. Oh, so you popped up like in the background or something?
Yeah.
That's cool, man. That's cool. Yeah. I mean, obviously, it sounds like they're building some type of big support system down there.
Their fight is April 18th at the Front Wave Arena.
And that's a new arena for people who don't know, in the San Diego area, specifically in Oceanside, which is like greater San Diego area, right?
Yeah. And that they've only been around maybe 16 months.
Right.
But they slowly, Golden Boy did Gabriela Fundura's fight there.
Right.
And so they've been slowly building up. They had a couple of AEW events there and concerts, but they've been slowly building up there, and it's becoming a good little place to have an event. And those two guys, they're expecting, like they said, they're expecting about 4,000 people to show up. That's a lot of people
for them. Yeah, that's a lot
for them, right? Like so, there's some names out there that can't even draw that by themselves.
No, right. And like, I mean, if you think about it, nobody really, at least in boxing, there's nobody who really has a stranglehold over like the San Diego market. Yeah. Like in general, like that market's been, there's been fights down there. Golden Boy's done fights in San Diego, top right, here and there, but like there's never really been, at least in recent memory, any fighters or promoter that really has a grasp on that market. And there's the population in the San Diego County area and, greater San Diego County area is significant. Yeah. There's a market there.
And these kids, they're young enough to where they are definitely attracting, the influencers and, all the social media guys, a lot of cameras there, a lot of cameras. So if anything, they are getting the attention that they're looking for. Now, how that plays out in the ring is a different story.
Yeah. So if they keep winning, then it keeps working.
Yes.
That's the hard part.
Yes. They keep winning, it keeps working.
Yeah. That's the hard part. Yeah. No, well, I mean, obviously, if they could keep, like you said, keep winning, and then they can keep expanding that market, and the influence they have on that market, it's just better for the sport, man. It's just better for the sport.
It's no different than what Vito Milnecki in New Jersey, right?
Yeah,
like
right.
A guy, they put him in the Garden, or they put him in those places because he sells tickets. Yeah, sells tickets. A lot of
that's his market. The Northeast over there.
Yeah. So these guys are trying to make San Diego their market, and they're doing a really good job by doing it.
Yeah. Well, good luck to them. Hopefully, maybe we can get them on. Maybe you can kind of reach out to them, see if any of them would like to come on
just
here. You can give it to you can give it to me offline. We can talk about it. It's not a big deal. That way we can kind of give them some promo. I kind of get some of the listeners a little peek inside on what they got going and get them some promotion there. So because I've been telling Mike about that San Diego market for a long time. I was like, somebody needs to tap in there, man. I was like, especially when they built, when they announced they were building, even before it was built, that Front Wave Arena, I was like, oh man, it's coming, man. Like, people need to tap into it. So,
and the layout is beautiful. Yeah, the layout is beautiful. They have like a turf, like almost like backyard to where like kids can like run around and stuff like that. And they have like private, I think it's like a Coors Light section where it's a bar. Yeah. And like it's almost like curtained out, but they got like stools and tables. Right. And you buy a ticket to that, but it has a good viewing, like middle level viewing of the event.
Dang.
Yeah. So they got some nice stuff there.
Yeah. That's cool, man. That's cool. Yeah. Hopefully it works out for them, man. And they can tap into that market, because that would just, that'd be great for the sport and just bringing more fans in, especially. So that'd be awesome. But once again, Abe, we always appreciate your time here on the Last Round Boxing Podcast. Obviously, you're doing a lot of big things and putting in the work there at FightsATW.com. I know you got I didn't mention earlier, we got the Boxing Rush Hour show, which is your podcast as well.
Yep.
So yeah, you're all over the place, man. You're all over the place. You put in your time with the Marine Corps and the military. You put in all those years into there, and now you're dedicating a big portion of your life to the sport of boxing, man. And I mean, I know we talked about the other significant reporters, like the guys from The Ring and Sports Illustrated, DAZN, Mannix, Coppinger, and those guys, but people also need to throw your name into that mix, man, because I
appreciate that.
You're just as busy, if not more busy than they are, in terms of the work you're putting in for the sport. So, which is great, man.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that.
No problem. Before we sign off here, Abe, go ahead and let the fans know where they can find you, follow you, and where they can keep up with you, man.
Yeah, Danny, again, I appreciate you having me on the show. Always a pleasure. Everybody can follow me on X at AbeG718. FightsATW.com is the website. If you're not somebody that wants to be on the website daily, you can sign up for the email newsletter, which gives you links to all the latest stories delivered right into your inbox. And you can pick and choose which ones you want to read. And it's covering everything from wrestling to boxing. So, FightsATW.com's website. Check us out. Let us know what you think.
And are you looking for any more bodies over there? You have wrestling, you have some MMA, a lot of boxing. Are you looking, if people are listening around, they're just like, hey, I'm looking for another opportunity, or I'm looking for an opportunity. Are you looking for people? Yes,
right now I'm a little bit tapped out. But I would say this: if there is anyone that is looking at maybe interning for a little bit, and just kind of getting a lay of the land and looking at, what that looks like. Hit me up on X, send me an email. The email is contact@fightsatw.com. Send me an email there. We could talk about it and see what's up. Maybe, who knows, maybe there's a fit for you after that, and, we can go from there. So, everybody's always getting opportunities, and maybe some of the guys that are with me now get a bigger opportunity with somebody else, and then I have to find someone to replace them. So,
absolutely, yeah. We all started somewhere, man. We all started somewhere, and somebody gave us an opportunity before us. So, you got to figure it out from there. But once again, Abe, I appreciate your time here on the Last Round Boxing Podcast. Mike and I will be back hopefully next week. Mike's schedule is a little bit tighter right now, but we should be back next week with your normal episode, or maybe another guest. We were trying to get some other people on in the next couple of weeks, so we might have some more surprises for you guys in the upcoming weeks. But for my guest of the week, and Abraham Gonzalez, the founder and publisher of FightsATW.com, I'm Danny Z. This is The Last Round.
Thanks for supporting and listening to the show. Follow us at The Last Round 12 on social media. Rate, review, and subscribe. This is The Last Round Podcast.